Time to take a look at the aughts, people. Let's discover the best fantasy novels of each year of the 2000 decade that were shunned by the awards. What surprises await? Let's find out. Welcome to Fantasy for the Ages, the show where a father and son talk about fantasy, science fiction, horror, and other nerdy things we enjoy. I'm Jim, the father of this channel. Thanks for joining me today as we dive back into some classic fantasy literature, but not too classic. We're already 21st century now. If you enjoy the 20 novels I'm going to share with you today, be sure to give us a like, and we hope you'll subscribe to this channel. And thank you to our Patreon supporters who fund us just a little bit of cash every month and help us keep this coming out to you so we can just share in the fun. We appreciate you. So the 2000s saw again some great fantasy fiction coming to us, and I've got some surprising novels to share with you here that were tons of purchases, lots of fans, still popular books, but no awards. Not even nominations for any of the big international fantasy awards. It's hard to understand. Again, the critics, the award juries, they just didn't realize what they were looking at. They didn't realize the gold these books would be. I mean, again, the Locus Award picks so many fantasy novels every year, and yet these, they whiffed on. Let's see what you think. Starting with the year 2000, our runner-up, so second best of these books to get no nominations, is The King's Peace by Joe Walton. This is an Arthurian, Celtic, historical fantasy novel, and is book one of a loose trilogy. It's a well-regarded debut to this trilogy, praised for lyrical prose and innovative storytelling. It's got a strong cult following now. A war-weary knight becomes the sworn protector of a powerful princess, navigating court intrigue and moral dilemmas in a richly imagined Celtic realm. But number one for 2000, one of my favorite series started this year, Stormfront by Jim Butcher, the first book of the urban fantasy series, The Dresden Files. This was an extremely loved debut novel. It's often cited in top 21st century fantasy lists. Harry Dresden, a professional wizard and private investigator in modern-day Chicago, tackles a deadly mix of magic, murder, and mob hits. It was a beautiful blend, a wonderful concept, and the series is ongoing to this day. For 2001, our first book, the runner-up of the year, is The Magi of Sayador by L.E. Modesitt Jr. This is epic fantasy leaning into courtly and martial magic themes, and is a book of the saga of Recluse in the Sayador universe. This book is appreciated among series fans for its rich magical tapestry and world building. It's part of a reputable fantasy saga. In fact, there were people asking why I hadn't mentioned this saga in the last decade. It just didn't hit this niche yet, but now we do. A master mage is dispatched to Sayador to tutor royal scions in magic. But political conspiracies, clan rivalries, and an undercurrent of war threaten all he holds dear. But the best book in 2001 to get no nomination nods is Memories of Ice by Steven Erikson. This is dark, epic fantasy and is the third book of Malazan Book of the Fallen, an incredible series that I so enjoy. This book was widely acclaimed and often considered the standout novel of the entire series. It's highly rated by fans of epic fantasy and is frequently cited amongst the top fantasy releases of 2001. As a vast magical war explodes in the icebound north, old alliances break and heroes are tested when the fallen ascendants return and ancient cataclysms loom closer. Moving on to 2002. The runner-up for the year is Dragons of a Vanished Moon by Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman. This is part of the War of Souls trilogy, and it's actually the final book. Epic fantasy. This is part of the Dragonlance Shared World series. This debuted at number 10 on the New York Times bestseller list and was widely enjoyed by Dragonlance fans. Palin Majir and Dalamar face mortal peril in the Tower of High Sorcery as Kryn shakes under a new magical war, one that may decide the fate of its gods and mortals. But the best book of 2002 to get no award attention is The Golden Fool by Robin Hobb. This is character-driven epic fantasy leaning into court intrigue and is the first book of the Tawny-Man trilogy, part of the greater Realm of the Elderlings. This is frequently listed among the best fantasy books of 2002. Betrayed and in hiding, Fitz returns to court to prevent a dark assassination plot. Side by side with his fool, he confronts magic, loyalty, and political storms. Man, some great books are ready here in the aughts. Let's keep going. 2003's runner-up is Lucinda's Secret by Tony DiTerlizzi. This is the third book in the Spiderwick Chronicles. Middle grade fantasy, it's a portal urban fantasy style. Consistently features in top 2003 fantasy charts. The Grace children discover a hidden portal in their new home, unveiling dark fairy secrets that threaten their family and the world. But the number one book of 2003 with no award nominations is Dark Thane by Jeff Crook. This is epic fantasy of the Dungeons and Dragons style. It's again placed in the Dragonlance Shared World universe. This is actually part of a 6-book series called The Age of Mortals, this being the third book. It's praised for its character focus and dwarf-centric storytelling. A dwarf Thane must confront dark magic and clan betrayal in the tumultuous aftermath of the Dragonlance cataclysm. If you're a Dragonlance fan, you know what that's referring to. For 2004, our runner-up novel is The Spook's Apprentice by Joseph Delaney. This is dark fantasy and it's YA. This is book 1 of the Wardstone Chronicles. A popular YA dark fantasy with a cult following now, it's praised for gripping pacing and memorable characters. It's frequently featured in Best Fantasy of 2004 roundups. A young boy becomes an apprentice to a local spook, learning to battle ghosts, witches, and boggarts in a chilling, deeply atmospheric English countryside. But number 1 for 2004 is Temple of the Dragon Slayer by Tim Wagner. This is young adult fantasy, quest fantasy, and it's D&D inspired. It's part of the Dragonlance series, but the New Adventures, book 1, which is specifically leaning into YA. And it's appreciated by the YA audience as well as Dragonlance fans, noted for its engaging quest narrative. A young peasant girl with amnesia teams up with companions on a journey to a mysterious temple, discovering hidden powers while racing to uncover her past. For 2005, our runner-up novel with no award nominations is Odalisque by Fiona McIntosh. This is epic fantasy involving court intrigue and political drama, and is book 1 of the Percheron series, 5 books. A top 10 Australian bestseller in 2006, this book was praised for its high-stakes narrative and strong world building. It maintains a strong, enthusiastic reader discussion. A slave turned elite guard finds herself embroiled in deadly palace power plays after fighting for her freedom and uncovering secrets that threaten the nation. But number 1 for 2005, with no award nominations at all, is Elantris, this little debut novel by some guy called Brandon Sanderson. This is epic and kind of urban fantasy, a standalone novel at its time. Now it's known as the first novel of the Cosmere universe. It had strong critical and reader acclaim and is widely regarded as a standout debut with sustained popularity. Prince Raoden is cursed into living among the fallen city's undead, while Princess Serene navigates political intrigue, both seeking to revive Elantris and prevent its collapse. Moving to 2006, our runner-up goes back to Brandon Sanderson with Mistborn, The Final Empire. Epic fantasy, a high fantasy style with a unique magic system that has become quite well known now. Allomancy, thank you very much. This is the first book of the Mistborn series, initially a trilogy, but now there are a number of other books in the series. Impressively popular, this modern classic is consistently placed on top fantasy of the 2000s lists. In a world of eternal ash and oppressive rulers, a street urchin and her crew aim to topple a god king using the magical power of metals, and they just might succeed. But that's only number 2 for 2006. I got something even better for number 1, and sad it doesn't get any nominations at all. The Blade Itself by Joe Abercrombie. Grimdark epic fantasy. This is book 1 of the First Law trilogy and a multi-book First Law series. Later books in the series would get nominations, would attract award attention, but this little one showing up by itself totally whiffed. A disillusioned barbarian, a crippled torturer, and a scheming nobleman find their fates intertwined as political conspiracies and ruthless ambition lead their world to the brink of war. Yeah, this book ended up as the best fantasy of the year lists all over the place, but no Hugo, no Locus, no World Fantasy, nada. Let's continue to 2007, where our runner-up is Wicked Lovely by Melissa Marr. A YA urban fantasy novel, it's book 1 of a 6-book series. It debuted at number 8 on the New York Times children's bestseller list and is beloved in YA fantasy circles. A high schooler who can see fairies becomes entangled in the hidden politics and dangerous allure of the fairy world, where beauty masks deadly secrets. And number 1 for 2007 is Lady Friday by Garth Nix. This is again young adult fantasy. It's also a portal fantasy and is book 5 of the 7-book The Keys of the Kingdom series. It's consistently ranked among top YA fantasy reads of the era. Arthur Penhaligon must infiltrate Lady Friday's domain, a realm of water, wreckage, and riddles, to gain control of her key and continue his quest to restore the will. For 2008, wow, we got some big ones here. Again, no recognition by the awards. The runner-up is Toll the Hounds by Stephen Erickson. This is part of his epic, grimdark, dark fantasy, military fantasy series featuring war and gods and all sorts of stuff. Book 8 of Malazan Book of the Fallen 10-book series. Highly praised in Best Fantasy of 2008 discussions, it's selected in year-end top 10 lists by many genre reviewers. It's acknowledged as a work of art. In the haunted city of Darujhistan, conspiracies, cults, and ancient powers collide as the Malazan Empire teeters on edge, and fates are decided by blood, steel, and sorrow. But the best book of 2008, yeah, something better than Toll the Hounds, is The Way of Shadows by Brent Weeks. This is grimdark, assassin-style epic fantasy and is book 1 of the Night Angel trilogy. Hugely popular, voted on to the David Gemmell Legend Award longlist for 2008, which is a fan-voted award, so doesn't eliminate it from consideration here. A young street orphan in a corrupt city becomes an apprentice to the world's deadliest assassin as he seeks revenge and finds that darkness extracts a high price. Love that trilogy. But our last year for the aughts, 2009, brings us in the runner-up slot another book from Malazan Book of the Fallen. Yep, Dust of Dreams by Stephen Erickson, book 9 of the 10-book series of this epic fantasy, grim, war-centered Malazan Book of the Fallen. Frequently cited as one of the best epic fantasy titles released in 2009. As the Malazan armies advanced into the wastelands, internal doubts and external horrors mount, ending on a devastating cliffhanger that sets the stage for the final confrontation. I will just tell you, I'm glad I didn't read this book until book 10 was already waiting for me. But the number one book for 2009 to get no award sniffs is The Judging Eye by R. Scott Bakker. This is epic fantasy with grim philosophical leanings and is book one of the Aspect Emperor trilogy. Hailed as a top fantasy release of 2009, this book is praised for its deep philosophical themes and its world building. Years after the Prince of Nothing series, Kellis rises to emperor as conspiracies and cosmic crisis loom across the three seas, and a brutal campaign pushes humanity toward a final apocalyptic clash. Telling you, people, those are some great books in the aughts. What do you think of these? How many have you read? Did you enjoy them? And do you think it's a shame also they got no awards? Let me know. Put your thoughts down in the comment box. While you're there, look at the show notes for other ways you can interact with my son Zach and I. Our socials are there, our email, an invitation to our Discord server. Lots of ways to get in touch with us. We love to hear from you, and I do read all those comments, and I still reply to each and every one of them. Thanks for watching. Watch for one last episode soon to come in this series as I take us from 2010 to pretty much modern day. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you next time.